You're listening to the Business and Life Podcast, where 7 days a week, proven entrepreneurs share their success stories, failures, and give you true value on how you can build a great business and an awesome life. With your host, Mike Olivas.
Hey guys, today we're chatting with Patricia Fripp. Patricia is an expert in presentation skills, executive speech coach, and a sales guru. She's an award-winning speaker, author, sales presenter, and in-demand speech coach. Patricia, welcome to the show.
My pleasure.
So tell our listeners something interesting about yourself and also where you're calling in from.
I am in San Francisco. I moved here at age 20 with no job, nowhere to live, didn't know anyone, $500. I knew everyone in America was rich and the streets were paved with movie stars. And I have not been disappointed.
Awesome. I love the story. And you went straight to San Francisco and you've been there ever since?
Yes, I travel extensively because I speak at conferences and work with clients, but this has always been my home, which is a pretty nice place to live.
No, absolutely. I love San Francisco. I went to college in Sacramento, and so I would go to the city often, and still do. A couple of my employees are actually going back and forth there, and one actually went to San Francisco State. What does tell us a little bit about your company, what it does, what kind of value does it bring to the marketplace?
All right. I am doing my best to rid the world of boring, dull presentations. So I help executives and celebrity speakers perfect their presentations. And a lot of my ongoing and long-term clients, they engage me to help give them a competitive edge by improving their important conversations and presentations. So I'll often work to redo the sales presentation for people who make pretty high-end sales.
Tell me what you generally try to do without giving too much away.
I don't mind giving it all away.
Thank you.
But try to do, well, it depends what you mean by try to do.
Okay, let's go back and say, what do you do for your clients?
All right. Well, if it were an executive, and for those entrepreneurial clients who sell their services, this is a secret technique that wins me business. Is that a good investment in their time? When I have someone who's considering working with me, executive or even a sales manager who wants to improve their presentations, my first hour in Zoom is a pretend you already hired me call. And I'll begin the conversation. If we were locked in a room together, what presentation would we be working on? They might say, well, I have a keynote for 1,500 people at our January sales meeting. Great. So what I do is give them what is really a free coaching session. And then when we get towards the end, I say, well, is this the advice you're looking for? Is this type of help or coaching you wanted? And it also gives me the opportunity, Mike, to make sure, do I want to work with them? Because I have been in business for decades. So at this point, I have more business than I can possibly accept. And so I'm not going to take a client that I don't enjoy working with. And I always say to them, working with a speech coach is not like working with a psychiatrist. However, you have to feel equally comfortable with them. So that usually 95% of the time they say, oh yeah, this is exactly what I want.
Right.
Now, if I was working with a sales team, I always, I want to find out who is your best sales professional. In other words, if everyone was as good as John or Mary, we wouldn't be interviewing a sales presentation coach. And what I do is I say, don't tell them I'm evaluating them. Tell them that they have been selected to help me better understand their company. And then I will talk to them and say, well, if I'm a prospect, who's your prospect? What would you say to me? What's the flow? And I record the conversation and transcribe it. And then when I talk to the sales manager, I redo the sales presentation better than their best salesperson.
Oh,
And I
okay.
say, because what I'm doing is I say, we're taking your best person or people and I'm redoing the best presentations, and then we'll train it to everybody.
Okay. So you focus on,
A couple of ways. And then
right.
I speak at conferences or, anything to do with the spoken word. You can hire me in person, online, in Zoom,
Yep.
combination of them all.
Do you focus mostly on the sales presentation versus, like, let's say, speakers?
Well, I obviously, because I was the first woman president of the National Speakers Association, I've been in the National Speakers Association for 43 years. Many speakers know me and, of course, reach out. Well, for novice speakers, I have an online learning that will give them the best of what I learned for less than the cost of working with me for 1 hour. So really, celebrity speakers or really seasoned speakers, some of my clients charge $25,000 before they come to me.
Sure.
So in that case, it's a matter of this is good, but how can we make it better? How can you make it from good to great or great to world class? And that's looking at it in a more refined way.
Sure. Give me a time during your business and entrepreneurship journey where you felt you've kind of hit rock bottom and needed to overcome that.
I can't think of a moment beyond when I first went in business for myself. I was San Francisco's #1 men's hairstylist, and I was solidly booked, and I opened my own business. Now that, well, it wasn't rock bottom, but the biggest challenge of that is I thought, Mike, I can't possibly work harder than I am. I'm working, 6-7 days a week.
Sure.
What is different when you're in business for yourself? And not everyone is designed to be an entrepreneur, because you might be working for someone else and work very long hours. The difference when you go into business with yourself is that you take it home with you. You never turn it off. You walk out of the door, even if it's been long hours, you can really go home and focus on your personal life. When you're in business for yourself, it never gets turned off. Not for the first 10 or 15 years anyway.
That's right.
And then there was a point when, I was building my speaking business. So I'd speak for IBM one morning, and then the next day I'd be in my salon. So it's balancing having one business and building another, and managing your staff at the same time. And then, of course, it's the point where some of my staff wanted to go in business for themselves, which I encourage, but that was a logical time. Okay, this is the time. Let me push them out the door, tell them how to start their business. One, I gave her my business to take over, so I was free and I didn't have the same responsibility to them.
Right, right.
But I would never say rock bottom, because I was brought up by a father who was an entrepreneur. And he gave me very good advice, Mike, the first day I went to work. When he pushed me out the door, he said, in your business and in your career, don't concentrate on making a lot of money. Concentrate on becoming the type of person that people want to do business with. Then you most likely will make a lot of money. And, there are times that you run low on money, but you don't spend money that you don't have to. And this is the secret. When you have money, don't spend it all. When you don't have any, don't spend it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, no, I just had an interview previously, and it was very similar. His rock bottom wasn't as very similar. It was like, I didn't really rock bottom. Not everybody does, or close to a rock bottom, but his advice was just very similar. Like, when he started making a lot of money, he started spending it less frugally, right? He just started throwing it out there and seeing what stuck. And it's Facebook, Instagram, all these social ads, but he didn't need to.
No, well, I'm British. Now, I've never kept myself on a budget because I have the perfect life, Mike. I have no husband, no children, no plants, no pets, no debt. and that's my lifestyle choice.
Sure.
Of course, if you have a family and kids to educate, you need to make a lot more money to have a comfortable living than someone who doesn't.
You're right. You're right. I am in the same boat, and you're right. We definitely have a lot less that is necessary to make, but a lot more to play with, and obviously freedom. But tell me a little bit about in your experience, and you've worked with so many different clients and entrepreneurs out there. Why do you think a lot of entrepreneurs fail?
Well, one, they might be unrealistic. Two, being good at a certain area. For example, I was a brilliant hairstylist. But being a brilliant hairstylist, or being a brilliant auto mechanic, or being a brilliant CPA or a dentist doesn't mean you are a good business person. So you need to find somebody who has skills that you don't have. But at the very beginning, for most of us, you have to do it all because you can't afford the professional talent you need. You have to have a certain amount of backing before you go into business. You need to say, okay, I'm getting a good salary. Well, for the next year, I'm going to live on half my salary, stash the rest away, so I could open my business and go for a year with no salary.
Yeah.
And and this is a subtle mindset. You have, and your mother would have told you this advice, you will be judged by the people you hang around with.
Yep.
If you are an entrepreneurial spirit, if you have the great need, I must go into business for myself, then but is this the right time? And do I have the right support? And I don't mean hiring the right people. I mean, do you have friends who are going to encourage you? Or do you have friends that say, you got such a well-paid job, why do you want to leave? Because when you work with someone else, even if you have a good salary, you are at the mercy of their business goals and business changes. Mike, I know a lot of your community who are entrepreneurs were probably laid off from wonderful, secure jobs 5 years ago that are no longer secure. And it has nothing to do with their talent or commitment or loyalty. It has to do with business climate changes.
We're going to dive into our guests' experiences in business and life after this quick message. Life Nation, are you struggling with growing your business and hitting goals? Or are you over the 9-to-5 grind, finally ready to take the dive into entrepreneurship? What are you waiting for? Go to michaelivas.com to set up a free, no obligation coaching call today. That's MIKEOLIVAS.com. I can help you. It may be the best call you've ever made.
How have you just told me earlier you have awesome life, and it sounds like you do. That's great. Tell me how you built the life that you want to live.
When I got off the boat, I had the idea I'm going to America. I had no idea when I was at age 20, I'm going to be America forever. Because when you're 20, you have no fear. One, I always had a very good work ethic. I have a brother. His name is Robert Fripp. He's, according to Rolling Stone magazine, the 42nd best guitarist in the history of the world, living or dead.
Awesome.
He has a group called King Crimson. Anyway, he played on David Bowie's Heroes, but it's very established. But when we were kids, he was always top of the class. I mean, he is a very smart, hardworking person. For me, I have a wonderful, outgoing personality, but I thought, well, I'm not as smart as my brother, so I'm probably not as smart as the other kids in my class. So I never missed school. When I was young, I received 100% attendance certificates for years. Never won anything else, but they knew I turned up. But what happened, Mike, with seeing my dad build a business, seeing my mother, being very supportive and they were working as a good team and building good work habits. And then once I started work, and I've always loved work. I mean, the times in my life, which has been most of it, I work long days and frequently 7 days a week. But this is the secret, as you know, Mike. If you're going to be an entrepreneur, you have to find an area that you love. So if you have to work another 2 hours and cancel going to the ball game or a movie date, you don't feel deprived.
Yeah.
And that is the way. Now, being in the businesses I've been in, I started as ladies hairstylist, working in very nice places where you meet an affluent clientele and get used and learn from the affluent. Then working in San Francisco's financial district with business executives and movers and shakers and asking questions. How did you get to be best salesperson? What did you do to your little company to make a big company want to pay you billions of dollars? And then going into business for myself. And then, of course, I was traveling nationwide doing seminars for hairstylists. And then my executive client said, oh, come speak at my club. And then going to the National Speakers Association and realizing this is what I could do next. So it's a matter of, I've been successful in a couple of different industries. Hairstyling, speaking. And now, of course, coaching, etc., which is an extension.
Sure.
But the ingredients that made me successful in both and would help your listeners and your community, help them, very simple. Because the principles in any one discipline are the same principles in any other discipline. There are universal principles. They've always been there. They always will. So one, for me, I did not start either profession with great talent. And that is not me being modest, because I'll tell you what I'm good at. I did not begin with great talent. However, I began with an interest in, a real commitment to be good. And I was lucky enough to find good teachers, bosses, mentors. And I have a personality that was great being a hairstylist, where you engage everyone in the salon, or it's easy for me to go to conventions and talk to strangers. Now, you can be an introverted hairstylist. You can be an introverted speaker. Some of the most successful are.
Really?
However, yes.
Yeah.
However, it is easier if you're more outgoing. So that's it. Interest in, commitment to, personality that matched, good teachers.
Absolutely.
You don't have to have the talent. You have to have, some area of inclination. Obviously, it was underneath there.
Right.
But you learn from people who are better than you.
Yeah, I love that. I love the work ethic angle too.
Yeah.
And having the work ethic, like you said, all the ingredients of hard work are definitely going to surpass.
Yeah.
I think sometimes even skill set. If you just keep at it, keep working, you definitely have the ability to be big. And you with all your successes and failures, of course, that we've all had, what's the one piece of parting advice that you'd give before we find out where we can find you on your website, of course? But what's the one piece of parting advice that you could kind of give to our listeners today?
Okay, this is a tweetable quote, Mike. Get ready for it.
I got my pen.
Tell me what you say you want. Show me 1 week of your life, and we'll both know if you'll accomplish it.
Okay, now explain.
Well, if you say, my goal is to lose 20 pounds, and you go a week and you never got on the treadmill, you never went out for a walk, you're not going to lose 20 pounds. You tell me, my goal is to be an in-demand public speaker, and you're starting from nothing, you didn't join Toastmaster, you haven't watched any tutorials online, no, you just blow an egg. You've seen Tony Robbins, you think, I want to be that. Tony Robbins took 15 years to be Tony Robbins. I asked Bud Friedman. Now, Bud Friedman was the gentleman who started the improv comedy clubs. And I went to hear him speak. Of course, I was the only one who didn't want to be a comedian. I was interested in it because, of course, humor is important in presentations. I put my hand up and I said, Mr. Fripp, is there such a thing as natural talent? He said, yes, but there is no such thing as overnight success.
Right.
Jay Leno was naturally talented, took 15 years to really get any momentum.
Absolutely. I think that is great advice. Patricia, thank you so much for your time. Where can we find you? What's the website? Give me some links.
Good. Well, if you go to Fripp, Fripp, myname.com, on the homepage, you can see resources you can download, which is, on presentations, sales presentations, an ebook on, just from one link, you'll see it's obvious on the page, an ebook on being a rock star communicator. If you go to Fripp, and you will find that from fripp.com, just look up at one of the links. That is my online learning program, the best of what I learned in over 30 years studying speaking. You get 3 free chapters on opening, stories, and sales.
Awesome. Well, Patricia, I appreciate all of the knowledge bombs that you dropped for us today. Thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure, and good luck.
Life Nation, you got to remember that in order for things to change, you must change. And in order for things to get better, you must get better. You just got better by hanging out with me, Michael Libas, and the Business and Life Nation. So come back tomorrow because I'm here dropping sound bombs 7 days a week, baby. If you'd like to subscribe, please do, so you can take action and execute. See you tomorrow.